You have the notebooks, the highlighters, and a plan that accounts for every variable. Yet, despite the massive preparation, you are stuck. This gridlock is a side effect of high intelligence. A sharp brain is exceptionally skilled at running simulations, constantly calculating exactly how a project might fail. To mitigate those perceived risks, you dive back into research. You spend weeks looking for the perfect entry point, which ultimately results in zero tangible steps taken. The trap is the belief that more thinking will eventually solve the hesitation. In reality, attempting to outthink a thinking problem is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. To end the paralysis, we have to abandon analytical logic. We need a way to force the physical brain into motion without its own permission. Behavioral frameworks from James Clear and B.J. Fogg describe overthinking as a hardwired habit loop rather than a personality trait. Uncertainty acts as the cue, triggering a craving for safety. The brain executes a response, endless research. This leads to the reward, an illusion of progress. During this, a literal dopamine hit triggers the reward centers before the work even exists. That dopamine spike tricks you into feeling productive. In reality, you are just finding a more sophisticated way to procrastinate. Because this is a closed mechanical loop, breaking it requires inserting a behavioral wedge that prevents the brain from entering the research response. Peter Gallwitzer's concept of implementation intentions serves as the primary method for dismantling this trap. This logic gate bypasses the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for overanalyzing, by using a rigid if-then formula. Vague goals fail because they require a decision in the moment, where the paralysis loop takes over. You eliminate that decision with a concrete trigger. If 8 a.m., then shoes on. By offloading the when and how to an external trigger, you remove the cognitive friction that usually keeps you stuck in the planning phase. We retreat into that planning phase because of a phobia of imperfection. The research feels safe, while the actual task feels like an opportunity to fail. Treating this requires exposure therapy, gradually exposing the nervous system to the very action it is trying to avoid through over-research. The 5-minute experiment facilitates this exposure. You commit to the dreaded task for exactly 300 seconds, with the option to stop immediately after. This chart reveals a core truth. Action is not the result of motivation. Instead, action creates motivation. Once past the 5-minute threshold, the required activation energy drops. The hardest part is simply transitioning from doing nothing to doing something. These microdoses of action prove to the nervous system that the task is manageable, lowering the psychological barrier and making the safety of endless preparation feel less necessary. Escaping the overthinking trap is a matter of designed behavior. It is the choice to favor a physical trigger over a mental plan. Think of the unwritten novels and unstarted businesses that only exist in the notebooks of people waiting to feel ready. Overthinking is more than a delay. It results in a life lived entirely in rehearsal. The perfect moment to start does not exist, and more research will not create it. You do not need a flawless plan. You only need 5 minutes and the courage to take a single, imperfect step.